The Realm. Do you know what the Realm is? It's the 1,000 blades of Aegon's enemies. A story we agreed to tell each other over and over till we forget that it's a lie.
Take what happened to you, Lord Varys, when you were a child. If not for your mutilation at the hand of a second-rate sorcerer, you wouldn't be here, helping the Lord's chosen bring his light into the world. Knowledge has made you powerful. But there's still so much you don't know.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back for another Game of Thrones video. Today I want to talk about Lord Varys and the Man in the Box. Lately I have noticed a resurgence in people's interest about this particular part of the story. I would say over the last 2 weeks there have been about 10 different people asking me about the sorcerer that cut Varys when he was a child, so I figured it was time to make a video, that way I could answer some of the questions you might have. The main question I was seeing the most was whatever happened to the Man in the Box, but another person wanted to know why he chose to cut Varys instead of any other little boy who might have been living in that area. But in order for me to come up with an answer, let's go over what we've been told thus far. In my opinion, Varys is one of the most interesting characters in the story, but as we all know, he is shrouded in mystery. No one really knows anything about Varys, and you can't even be sure if what we have been told is the truth because of the line of work Varys is in. He was the master of whisperers dating all the way back to the Mad King's reign, and his life leading up to this position is a mystery. However, Varys has told the story about how he was mutilated as a child, and it's obvious that moment has had a big impact on his life.
You probably don't entirely trust me.
Don't take it personally. I don't entirely trust myself.
And yet I have seen things. And heard things. Things you have not. Things I wish I had not.
According to Varys, when he was still a child, he used to travel with a troupe of actors around the free cities. One day, after one of our performances, the sorcerer made an offer for me that my master found too tempting to refuse. I feared the man meant to use me the same way I had heard other men were using small boys. But in truth, the only part of me he had need of was my manhood. He gave me a potion that made me powerless to move or speak, yet did nothing to dull my senses. With a long hooked blade, he sliced me root and stem, chanting all the while. I watched him burn my manly parts on the brazier. The flames turned blue, and I heard a voice answer his call, though I did not understand the words they spoke. The mummers had sailed by the time he was done with me. Once I had served his purpose, the man had no further interest in me. When I asked him what I should do now, he answered that he supposed I should die. To spite him, I chose to live. I begged, I stole, and I sold what parts of my body I still had. Soon, I was as good a thief as any in Myr, and when I was older I learned that often the contents of a man's letters are more valuable than the contents of his purse. This is what Varys tells Tyrion in the television show, and it's almost identical to what Varys says in the books, but there is one big difference. There is no mention of Varys ever finding the sorcerer in the books, but we know he captured him on Game of Thrones.
The sorcerer.
Hello, my old friend. It's been a long time. I have no doubt the revenge you want will be yours in time. If you have the stomach for it.
The first question I want to get to is why did the man cut Varys? Based on the story Varys told, it seemed like he wanted Varys specifically because he made his master an offer he could not refuse. Why would you pay so much for Varys when I'm sure he could have gotten one for a cheaper price, or even free if he just kidnapped one? What is so special about Varys? Well, I tend to believe the theory that Varys is actually one of the descendants from the Blackfyre family. House Blackfyre was a direct offshoot of House Targaryen. The house was founded by Daemon Blackfyre, who was the legitimized bastard of King Aegon IV. Their sigil was a black three-headed dragon breathing black fire on red, the Targaryen sigil with the colors reversed. Many people believe Varys could be a descendant from this family, and I happen to think it's true. Ever since the beginning of the show, we have seen Varys secretly working behind the scenes with Illyrio, trying to put House Targaryen back on the Iron Throne.
We will be at war soon, my friend.
What good is war now? We're not ready.
If one hand can die, why not a second?
This hand is not the other.
We need time. Khal Drogo will not make his move until his son is born. You know what these savages are.
Delay, you say. Move fast, I reply. This is no longer a game for two players.
This could also explain why Varys shaves his head. He might be trying to hide that platinum blonde hair even Blackfires were known to have. I also happen to think this is why the sorcerer chose to cut Varys over any other child he may have came across, but there are two different ways you could look at this. You could say he mutilated his genitals to prevent Varys from ever furthering the bloodline. One way to prevent someone from producing an heir, other than killing them, is to remove their reproductive parts. That's one reason why I think he could have done this, but on the other hand, this man was a sorcerer, and he may have needed king's blood to perform some kind of fire and blood ritual. We have seen Melisandre do this with Gendry. She did not cut off his parts, but she did put a leech down his pants. Melisandre then had the blood-filled leeches thrown into the fire. The man that cut Varys took it one step further. Instead of just drawing some of his blood, he turned him into a eunuch instead, and we all know there is great power in king's blood. Some people say the sorcerer just wanted to use the virgin blood of a boy, but I disagree. I believe Varys does come from a very powerful family. You can also just look at the way Varys spells his name. It's very similar to Daenerys and Viserys. All of their names end with the YS. The thing about this event that I'm interested in the most is not why Varys was chosen by the sorcerer. I want to know who he was calling out to in the flames. Whatever happened has terrified Varys for most of his life. He even says he still dreams about that night. He doesn't dream of the sorcerer or the action of him being cut, but what keeps Varys up at night is what the voice said.
I still dream of that night. Not of the sorcerer, not of his blade. I dream of the voice from the flames. Was it a god, a demon, a conjurer's trick? I don't know.
It might not even be the voice of a human, because Varys isn't sure himself. He says, was it a god, a demon, or a conjurer's trick? I don't know, but the sorcerer called out and a voice answered. Ever since that day, Varys has hated magic and all those who practice it. I'm assuming that whatever it was must be tied into R'hllor. The sorcerer performed a very similar ritual to the one we have seen Melisandre perform, and as you all know, Kinvara knows what the voice said. It also seems like Melisandre knows as well, because she knows Varys will die very soon. Now I know she just said Varys would die in this country, meaning Westeros, but they never would have had Melisandre say that unless it was going to happen soon. And by soon, I mean next season. But now I want to move on to the main question everyone keeps asking, and that is whatever happened to the man in the box? If you want to know why I think the flame turned blue, and what that means for Varys next season, I will put the link to that video down below. I don't want to go over all of that again because I'm sure most of you watching this video already know what I think about all of that. The first time we see the man in the box was in Season 3. Varys and Tyrion are having a discussion about revenge, patience, and influence as Varys is prying open the box. This is when Varys finally reveals what happened to him as a boy. After Varys tells the story to Tyrion, he also tells him this is why he wanted to help against Stannis and Melisandre. He said it was a form of symbolic revenge on sorcerers, because Stannis had aligned himself with the Red Priestess from Asshai. But Tyrion isn't quite satisfied with this response because he wants to exact revenge on the people who have actually wronged him. However, Tyrion is in for a big surprise because that's exactly what Varys was talking about as well. This is revealed when Varys opens up the box. You see, Varys was telling Tyrion that sometimes you need to be patient to have that kind of influence, and Varys says influence can grow with patience. This scene may prove that Varys is in it for the long game. He's neither stupid or impulsive. If he needs to, he can wait forever. But when and if he wants to achieve something, he will do just that. Somehow, some way, but in time, he too can get his revenge. This also shows just how extensive his network of little spies is. Varys was able to find this man decades after the fact, in a place far, far away from where Varys is currently at. We never see the man in the box again after this scene. Whatever did happen to the sorcerer couldn't have been pleasant. But I am assuming it would have also had to have been done before the end of Season 4, because that's when Varys and Tyrion both leave King's Landing for Pentos. You have to wonder, did Varys use the same exact box to escort Tyrion across the sea? It's probably not the same box, although they did look very similar. Ever since Varys and Tyrion left King's Landing, there has been no hints that Varys is still keeping the man alive. So I would like to imagine Varys tortured this man until he expired. I don't think Varys would have put him out of his misery either, not after what he had done to Varys. You have to remember, the conversation Varys and Tyrion were having during that scene was about revenge and patience. Varys would not have been satisfied by just simply killing the man. Oh no. He needed to pay for traumatizing Varys for the remainder of his life. You could see that the sorcerer was already an old man, who didn't look like he was in the best of shape as is. You also have to keep in mind, who knows how long he had been in that box before Varys even showed it to Tyrion. I would bet that Varys returned the favor by mutilating the sorcerer himself. Then he probably tortured him and kept him alive at the same time, for as long as humanly possible. At this point, I would say he is dead, but trust me, this will not be the last time we hear about what happened to Varys that night. This was a pivotal moment in Varys' life, and it will come full circle in the end. When it comes to Varys as a character, we have been leading up to something big. We find out Varys is a eunuch in Season 1. Then in Season 2, Varys tells Tyrion that one day he will tell him the story about how he was cut. In Season 3, Varys tells Tyrion this haunting story. Then he reveals the man in the box. In Season 6, Varys meets Kinvara, and they have a conversation about the Mother of Dragons and loyalty. Kinvara says as long as Varys stays loyal to Daenerys, then he has nothing to fear from her, but not before she reminds him about the most traumatic event in his life. She tells Varys that she knows what happened that night, and she knows what the voice said from the flames. In the very next season, Varys meets Melisandre, and she tells him she knows he's gonna die. In the final season, all of this will come to fruition, and Varys has known this ever since he heard the voice in the flames. He might not know exactly what he heard, but he knows whatever it wasn't something he ever wanted to see or hear again. Varys is going to die next season, and however that happens will tie into everything I have said in the video. Let me know what you think. Put all your thoughts or questions down below in the comment section. I would love to hear what you have to say. Anyways, I want to thank all of you for watching the video. I really appreciate that. And I also want to thank all of my supporters on Patreon. Thank you all very much. I hope you have a great day. I will see you soon. Bye.